Chapter 12 Rising Star. Earl had become an instant sensation almost overnight. Although we had put so much into our apartment, we had to leave it. We left in the middle of the night with nothing but our clothes and a 22-inch television. It was crazy. Even though we had cash, I was still using food stamps. I was working and Earl was famous. But old habits are hard to break. We stopped at the supermarket to get groceries, and the manager that took us was embarrassed for us. We didn't care what they thought, but we knew that we had to make changes. After all, Earl was becoming famous. When the manager dropped us off at our new home, we couldn't wait for him to leave. As soon as he dropped us off, we started screaming, "We rich! Is this really our house?" We had money in our pockets, we had cell phones, and we were just living the life. Back then, only people with serious cash could afford cell phones. We had reached a plateau. We ordered Chinese, which was like lobster to us. I always cooked, and any kind of takeout was considered a treat. Shortly after the supermarket scene with Earl's manager, he advised me to get off the food stamps. Reluctantly, I did it now. I was solely dependent on Earl. Irv Gotti arranged for DMX to be in this new movie called Family. It was being directed by one of the hottest directors at the time, Ike Williams. It was an instant success. Earl's new album dropped, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. The hype around his album was crazy. Earl was featured on everyone's CD. He was receiving love everywhere. Although the movie role was a blessing, he still never felt like he was an actor. But I supported him and I told him he could do it. It was like if I pushed him with my approval, he could do it. After the first night on the set, he came home so happy. He came in yelling, "Tashira, I got it." I knew he had it. He just had to believe it. You see, he had to conform his mind to the positive things that he could do. All of his life, all he ever did was struggle. Things were so negative in the past, but that's what made me love him even more. Despite all of Earl's many achievements, we never really realized that we had made it. We had no furniture in our home, but had never been happier. Irv and DMX's manager came by and explained to him that his record had gone platinum. We were ecstatic. The environment that was in our new house in New Jersey was conducive for us. Earl and I both needed that change. After learning that Earl's record had gone platinum, the first thing we did was go shopping for furniture. We no longer had to wait to buy furniture when the budget permitted. We were able to purchase whatever we wanted. There were no issues and no worries. Whatever we wanted, we could buy. It felt good. We were living a legal life and it was paying off. We had been without a car for as long as I could remember. Now that we had money, we could afford to buy one. Up until this point, we have been utilizing the car service. The record label preferred that because they had control of his whereabouts. This was the first time in a while that Earl was clean. It's important to know this was a happy time in our lives. Earl and I had been together for 9 years and our son was 7 years old. Russell and Kamora Simmons came over personally to congratulate us. To add to all of this, I found out that I was pregnant again. We were happy, and life couldn't have been better. We were better prepared for this pregnancy, and so we were actually able to really enjoy my pregnancy free from worry because we were financially stable. Despite all of the impact of his stardom, it didn't really register that Earl was famous. Not until we had an unplanned visit to the mall to purchase some sneakers after a studio session. Normally, Earl would go to the studio and come home. He had a regimen that had worked and kept him clean and sober. This particular day, we detoured from it and decided to go shopping. Once we entered the mall, everyone started yelling, DMX. And we entered the sneaker store. People started coming in and crowding the store. The store clerks were Asian, and they had no idea what was going on. It became so crowded that they had to shut the store down. We had literally had to sneak out the back to escape the crowd. When we got in the car, we were so amped. Earl turned to me and said, "Yo, did you see that shit?" I shook my head and I was like, "Earl, you are famous." And he was like, "Yeah, baby, I am. Shit, I'm gonna roll up on this one." So we finally realized the magnitude of DMX's career. Things had definitely changed. Def Jam loved me and supported our relationship. They believed that I was good for him and they always supported us. However, others that I won't care to mention still played both sides of the fence. In my face, they supported our relationship. Forgive me, y'all, my dog is snoring. In my face, they supported our relationship. But behind my back, they were constantly wishing and hoping that Earl would embrace the idea of telling the public he was single. The more acceptable he was to the public, the more money he would make. The image they were pushing was for him to be a heartthrob. If he was portrayed as a single man, he would be more appealing to the women audience, and that meant more record sales. More record sales meant more money. I did what any other good woman would do for that man. I supported him. I never caused friction. My concentration was on my son, the child I was carrying, and Earl. It was the first time in years I did not have a care in the world. I should have known it wouldn't have lasted long. The first 5 months of my pregnancy went well. However, going into my 6th month, the doctors noticed some issues with our baby. They stated that the sonogram showed that the baby did not have a stomach and that it was growing with major deformities. I couldn't believe it. I sat there in disbelief. There was no way I was accepting the news I was receiving. I contemplated telling Earl, but decided against it. After all, he was at the height of his career. If I distracted him from his work, all he would do was worry. I didn't want that for him or for my children. I continued with my life like that news wasn't true. I thought if I didn't accept it, if I held on to my faith, my baby would come out healthy and strong. Doctors are not God, and they are known to make errors. I kept it from Earl. I felt like God had control of the situation and his will would prevail. Earl was always gone. His demand for appearances increased, and I had gotten to a point in my pregnancy that I couldn't travel as much. He always asked me to escort him, and sometimes I would go, but a lot of times I just wanted him to do him. See, it was never about the fame and fortune for me. One night after an event, Earl stayed out, and that was the very first time out of 9 years that we had been together that he had done that. I didn't complain and fuss. When he arrived home, he was very apologetic about it. In fact, he insisted that I escort him to the upcoming fight in Atlantic City, which was out of town. I'm sorry, while he was out of town, I needed some money to take care of the household bills, and by this time, we had hired an accountant. When I went to the accountant to get some money, the accountant stated he would not approve the withdrawal because Earl was not there to approve it. It was the first time I had went to get money without Earl. Although Earl and I had both hired him and the accountant knew me, he still said without Earl's permission, I wouldn't be able to get any money. I was never the type to get upset, but when I explained it to Earl, he was very angry. The accountant told him that because we were not legally married, he had to protect him as his client. It was at this point that Earl asked me to marry him and actually put a date on it. It was June and we wanted to get married ASAP. We decided on August the 9th. Everyone was ecstatic for us. Ja Rule was Earl's hype man at the time. He was happy for us too, and soon everyone was congratulating us and accepting the fact that I was going to be around for the long haul. I was good and pregnant at the time. While Earl was out performing, I went into labor. I had never seen so much water, and it was a vivid image I can't put on out of my mind. Once Earl found out I had went into labor, he immediately left the studio and arrived at the hospital. We had recently purchased a used truck, and I was told that he nearly crashed it trying to get to the hospital. The complications immediately came. The doctor stated I couldn't have a natural childbirth. They would have to perform a C-section. When my child was born, I immediately knew something was wrong. The doctors explained to us that the baby was born abnormal, without a stomach or feeding tubes. I fell into a deep depression. I went into a dark place. I don't know, but I couldn't feel anything. Earl cried and went from questioning doctors to questioning God. He couldn't understand why this had happened. I was not a drug addict. I had never done drugs. I was not an alcoholic. I ate healthy and I had already given birth to a healthy baby boy. So why did this happen? The doctors explained to him that I was lucky to even be alive. Earl kept the faith, hoping for the best. He would visit and check on our child in between shows and studio sessions. I couldn't bring myself to visit my child. I just couldn't do it.